Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, public sparring continues between government and Baha Mar. An anti-crime activist raising alarm over a recent shooting involving children. The F&M sounding off on Junkanoo Carnival figures, plus how two little girls cope with type 1 diabetes. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on NB12 Weekend. Welcome once again to NB12. The verbal sparring between the government and Baha Mar continued overnight after the Christie administration accused the developer of being misleading. Baha Mar blasted government over its attempt to have partners from PricewaterhouseCoopers appointed as provisional liquidators, only to make what it called a preposterous reversal in the Supreme Court yesterday. In its statement, government said that it makes no apologies for ensuring that the proposed provisional liquidators are free of any real or perceived conflict of interest. As Justice Ian Winder heard the government's winding up petition, the government's legal counsel advised that it would be inappropriate to proceed with PwC, saying the company advised the government of a potential conflict of interest on Thursday. Attorney Peter Knox, head of the government's legal team in the winding up petition, said PwC indicated that it had previously acted for China State Construction Engineering Corporation, and Knox said this was news to the government as there was no previous indication of a conflict or potential conflict of interest. He announced that the government has engaged 3 prospective liquidators from Ernst & Young and requested an adjournment of the winding up hearing. Baha Mar's legal team requested more time to complete inquiries on the new proposed liquidators. Winder adjourned the matter to August 19th. In a statement released shortly after the hearing, Baha Mar said the government's hastily submitted application contained numerous fatal flaws in procedural terms. It said the appointment of provisional liquidator is entirely unwarranted under the law, and given how the government's first attempt to recommend 3 PricewaterhouseCoopers partners resulted in preposterous reversal, Baha Mar can't accept at face value the government's assertion that it has now taken the appropriate steps to get things right. However, the government said it has sought to facilitate an impartial process that will result in the opening of Baha Mar under private ownership and operation as soon as possible. The government said it has also sought to create a fair playing field for the development by first encouraging and facilitating talks toward an agreement, then paying the wages of Bahamian employees, and as a precaution filing for winding up in the national interest. The government said notwithstanding the winding up proceedings, it acknowledged that Baha Mar CSCEC reported as of 6 p.m. on Thursday that progress was made on an out-of-court settlement, but Baha Mar insisted government's winding up petition is misguided and without merit, and the whole process is abusive, oppressive, and undertaken in bad faith. Well, in other news, Free National Movement Chairman Michael Pintard says he's not surprised by the Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival report, which revealed a loss of $6 million. According to the report, the government spent $12.9 million on the inaugural festival and made $6.68 million in taxes and direct revenue. The controversial event went nearly $4 million over the $9 million originally budgeted. Pintard says he's not happy with the Bahamas National Festival Commission's explanation for going over budget.
I listened to the remarks of the chairman of the commission and was quite disappointed. I thought the explanation does not pay respect to the many intelligent Bahamians that are out there. Firstly, the event did not put heads in bed. By their own admission, a very small number of tourists attended the events. They could not provide us with how many of those tourists, less than 1,000, would have traveled here specifically for that. We believe it's probably less than 100. Their stated objectives were not met. So they are now mentioning other goalposts, other markers by which we should measure the success of Carnival.
Of the estimated 115,000 people who attended the Carnival events, Major estimated 900 of them were visitors. Pintard said he's not buying that either.
I never bought and today do not buy that the government was single-mindedly focused on stimulating the cultural sector. We've said before that Carnival, which is essentially someone else's culture, was imported by this government, and they have sought to rebrand our culture with someone else's culture. What's wrong with that? A country that survives on tourism ought to trade on its competitive advantage. Our competitive advantage is our uniqueness. We should seek to spend the bulk of our money promoting those things Bahamian.
Commission Chairman Paul Major has defended the overspending and called Carnival criticism misplaced. However, the F&M chairman said he doesn't believe Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival was ever meant to be a profitable venture.
The government, in my estimation, never intended for Carnival to be a profitable venture. Nor was it a stimulus package for the cultural sector. In my estimation, it was a means of spreading a tremendous amount of resources throughout the community to appease those that have been suffering because of failed PLP policies.
Well, a shooting incident that left a 4-year-old girl fighting for her life and her 7-year-old brother with a gunshot wound to the leg has sparked outrage among Bahamians. Community leader and gang expert Carlos Reed says it also highlights a worrying trend involving innocent bystanders getting injured or killed by criminals. Jasmine Brown reports.
Reed insists that unless crime is properly addressed, the situation will only continue to spiral out of control. Reed says while it's clear that retaliation is still a major motive, it can no longer be said that criminals are only targeting.
It always bothers me, particularly when innocent people are caught up in this web, this feud that is on our street. There's a war going on our streets, and a lot of the murders that we're seeing right now as a result of retaliation. It seems that we as a society, we are hell-bent on not taking loss, that we got to get even. One of the things that causes this is when people feel that the system is not giving them the kind of justice that they feel that they deserve, not giving it them in a timely basis that they feel that they should get it.
As the murder count hit record numbers near the end of the last Ingram administration, then Minister of National Security Tommy Turnquest insisted law-abiding citizens had little to worry about. As the murder count hit record numbers near the end of the last Ingram administration, then Minister of National Security Tommy Turnquest insisted law-abiding citizens had little to worry about, as he said the vast majorities of the murders were the result of bad guys targeting other bad guys. But this year alone, police confirmed there were several cases where victims were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Most recently on Wednesday night, a 4-year-old girl was shot in the back of the head while her 7-year-old brother was shot in the leg. 2 other men and a woman were also shot in the incident that occurred on Key West Street. Police said the shooting occurred after an altercation between the adults. In February of this year, a 65-year-old...
We'll be foolish to ignore it, because we've seen a number of different cases even this year. Even if we not even focus on the Fox Hill situation, some months back somebody was shot inside their house. This was a barber that had nothing, he was not the intended target, it's just he caught a stray bullet. We're seeing even where folks went down in the Yellow Elder area and they shot up this house with this grandma in it.
He adds that the problem will only get worse as murderers become more ruthless.
We do more policing with intelligence. Because we know that there is a feud going on out there, then we got to be able to actually deal with things as they are.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, General Manager of Bahamas Bus and Truck and member of the Bahamas Motor Dealer Association, Ben Albury, says he supports government's decision to ban wrecked vehicles. Albury says the ban is long overdue.
Applaud the government. I think that it's something that should have happened a long time ago, to protect the consumer as well as to avoid us ending up with junk on the streets. or people purchase vehicles not knowing the history of it. I think at the end of the day, the real solution is going to be to enact a titling system, as they do in other first world countries. I know the Bahamas Motor Dealer Association, as well as the banks and the insurance companies, have offered to work along with the government, along with the road traffic department, to get us on a computerized system where there can be titling, so that once you have the vehicle, any records of accidents can be kept on that title, as well as if there are any liens against the vehicle, to avoid people purchasing a vehicle that may already have a loan attached to it through the original owner. I get a little frustrated when I hear the term wrecked car industry. Since when has wrecked cars become an industry? It's, we have a used car industry, we have a new car industry. Say, for example, if we never had building codes, and then all of a sudden the government decided, look, we're going to implement a certain standard to which buildings should be structurally. Are we going to now say, well, what about the wrecked building industry? What about the substandard buildings that are being built or being maintained? Are we going to kill that industry as well? That's not really an industry.
But it's not sitting well with everyone in the auto industry. Members of the Bahamas Auto Repair Association have blasted government's decision as inconsiderate, saying the move, which takes effect on September 1st this year, would cripple the livelihoods of auto mechanics, body repairmen, scrap metal salvagers, tow truck operators, and part suppliers. Government and new auto dealers believe the wrecked vehicle import ban will help reduce auto theft in the Bahamas. They argue that the crime is being facilitated by the ability of thieves to switch vehicle identification numbers with imported wrecked cars.
I don't think that we should be afraid of having standards. Nobody's saying that damaged vehicles cannot be imported. We're just saying, or the government is saying, that wrecked vehicles, cars that have sustained serious damage, cannot be brought in and relicensed to be put on the road.
Stay with us when NB12 returns. Having a tough time coming up with those pricey school fees, how one company is making it easier for parents to afford private school for their kids, plus the controversial shock treatment program seeking improvements in its third cycle. We'll tell you about those stories and more when we come right back.